back then.
He's gonna need a minute to set up because he thought he was gonna be able to draw from there or show that. So I'm gonna have him log into Abby's and have him zoom in.
Okay.
He didn't know how to do that.
That's quite scary. You have a glow about you that wasn't about you a couple months ago. And congratulations. I heard it went very well. Yeah, it's open. Open session. Remember what I said, Carrie, about you always name the kiddos after me. It's always a standard thing. Thomasina, no. Tommy. We're ready. Go ahead, Carrie. Go ahead. Yeah, push the button on your speaker though.
Sorry about that. While Art is getting set up for the application drawing, I might switch to the next, jump ahead just a little bit and go down to the letter of support for Five Valleys Land Trust. And so we have Buffalo and Eric on the Zoom with us this morning. And so what this letter is, the Five Valleys Land Trust in Missoula was approached by a landowner in the Evero area that had about a 90-acre parcel of land that they were interested in donating under a conservation easement. And so where this letter comes into play is they are requesting, I believe, the Missoula Council to help cover some of those conservation easement costs on their end. And so this letter of support, so Lynn and I went down and looked at the property, kind of evaluated it on a wildlife and fisheries perspective, and then just sort of concurred that kind of the location of where it is, the condition of the parcel, that it could be beneficial to some of our wildlife species, west slope cutthroat trout, and then it's a good sort of area of connectivity for grizzly bear, moose, and then some other bighorn sheep and ungulates. And so we just supported that action, supported that parcel being under a conservation easement because it would have benefits for our wildlife and fisheries. So, and this letter would go to the Missoula County Board of Commissioners just to sort of support, let them know that we support that parcel being under a conservation easement. And if Eric had anything else on that information wise, go ahead and jump on.
Thanks. Thank you, Carrie. Can everyone hear me okay?
We sure can.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here and to meet you all, if only digitally, hopefully one day in person. I have met some of you, but I don't really have anything to add, Carrie. I think you covered it really well. It's a conservation easement that's going to be donated to Five Valleys by the landowners on 90 acres of property there east of east of Evero. And so I don't have a lot to add. I think you covered it really well. The letter of support will be, will support our application to the open space bond program for Missoula County for funding for the transaction costs, but the easement itself will be fully donated. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. You have Lynn on. Lynn, do you have any comments on this parcel?
No, I don't. I guess I could add that this is, according to Craig Barfoot, a pure strain west of cutthroat trout stream. So it is important from that perspective. And just to add, Chairman McDonald, I don't know whether you're willing to sign that letter today, but I believe that Eric has a meeting tonight with the commissioner. So if we could somehow expedite getting that letter signed today, I think it would help him out quite a bit.
Okay, good to know. Any council comments? Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I just want to point out that in your letter, on the first bullet point, protection is consistent with the Flathead Reservation Comprehensive Resources Plan. It should be in that it arrests the degradation of habitat. Just a little typo, that's all.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any other comments from council? Motion by Martin to approve the letter to the Missoula County Board of Commissioners supporting the conservation easement for the 90-acre parcel with Five Eyes Land Trust in Missoula County. Second by Bing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. I guess the question would be if you want to correct the typo and then bring it back, and then Eric can have one for tonight. For the record, I was on the Five Valleys Land Trust Board for a while. So they do great work, and the conservation easements are a critical tool to protect much of our landscape. And Five Valleys does that in lots of our Aboriginal lands. Well, they cover all of our Aboriginal lands in Western Montana in their scope. So really appreciate their work. And they've always been very considerate of the tribal interests and want to make sure that they also are very considerate of not only the county commissioners in this case, but Five Valleys Land Trust has always been that way. So appreciate that. And I want to thank you, Eric, and the staff there for doing that. Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes, I will work on those corrections and then get that letter back out this afternoon.
Push the button. All right, we're doing a drawing now, huh?
We are, yes. Did you have a few things to say on that, Art, or are we ready to?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look up how many applicants.
Perfect. I think we are good to go. So this is the drawing for the Ferry Basin elk and the Little Money Camas bighorn sheep drawings.
Okay. There it is. Now I'll have to figure out how to, is that good enough for? It, yeah, this doesn't let me do that for some reason. So you can see probably the most points were 18. I just assume since that's the highest number on there. Yeah, usually what I do, that's what I put it on here so I can get it off the program and then I'll send it over. There's a couple more pages. Should I go to the second page? That's the rest of the for bull elk. And then, the last page will be the, U permits. So. We do U permits under with points, but it hasn't been done for that long. So I can go back or I can. If anybody wants to see anything.
Can you back it up one or two?
I go back to the first page.
Yeah, the first page, Art, just quickly. Oh, boy, who knows? Ram is gonna have a chance against Peyton.
Oh, there it is.
Or Brandon. Oh, man.
And then, Kaylee Durgalo did want me to, just kind of give a brief clarification. So when we, kind of were here and got the harvest quotas, for the RAM and ewes, approved earlier this year, there was, a bit of kind of, confusion on how that was worded, I believe, in the minutes, because we did get, quite a bit of few inquiries on whether or not we were giving Fish, Wildlife and Parks permits for their paradise area. And so we just wanted to clarify that it is a herd that, you know, its home range is both on and off the reservation. And so what that is the state have their permits, and then we have our travel permits and hunters for within the reservation. And so that, you know, that because it's a shared herd, we just collaborate on total population numbers, and then we collaborate on numbers of permits, just so that we make sure that between our hunting and the state hunting, that we're not over taking too many from that population. And so we just wanted to clarify that, you know, we weren't giving any permits to the state, but that's, you know, their permits for their portion of that home range. And then, you know, it was separate from ours, but just the way it was worded was a little confusing. So.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Carrie, do we get the same number of permits on the herd?
Yeah, so I believe this year they had 6 either sex permits that they were giving. And so then we had 6 ram with 3 U. So, and that's something that we work with their sheep biologist on, is to figure out what kind of the total quota would be. And then we just make sure that between that, we don't kind of exceed that threshold. So.
Any other questions about the drawing? Some lucky hunters out there. Gary, the Elmo 2 fire had a distinct impression on the bighorn sheep habitat in
Yeah.
the big draw. Do you have any indication of where the animals are now, or?
So I'm assuming that they were displaced from that area there. I'm going up, a part of the burned area emergency response team for that fire. And so this afternoon, we are hoping to coordinate a flight so that I can get up and kind of just fly that area to see kind of what it looks like currently, but then, you know, also to see if there were any mortalities in that flight. But what I'm thinking is most likely, you know, they were ahead of the fire and able to displace kind of maybe further west. But, you know, because we did have observations on about 15 to 25 in that herd this spring. So yeah, we're working to kind of make sure that in that recovery of that area, that we get it back in good habitat for the sheep as quick as possible.
I kind of wonder where they're landing, because they'll have to winter there wherever they land. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks, Art.
Thank you, guys.
Push the button. You did a really good job pushing that button. Gotta say. Virgil and Renee, you'll be up next as soon as Martin gets done playing with the computer there. Good morning, you two. Good to see you. Well, been a good day so far. We might even get some Yellowstone TV series paraphernalia by the end of the day.
Okay, good. Good morning. We're here to bring you some gifts. We have some produce that we brought from our garden. There should be an article in the Charcusta coming out today of the garden SKC is doing, and there's one at the Ronan Airport with the greenhouse group. We have one going with FFA in Ronan, and Dana Hewan Corn is heading one up in Elmo. And it's kind of a unique way of doing it. We haven't been doing this in the past like this, but we invited people in to go through a 15-week course. We have some help that came through Greg Dumontier and his foundation group, Fred Billings. He's come to us at no cost to us. And he's doing some really hands-on gardening training. And I think the people that have stuck with it have really enjoyed it. And the produce is starting to come in. It's going to be considerably better than what we've ever done in the past. And what we really have here is a decent prototype of a system that could be fairly easily implemented in people's homes on small plots of land. And if people want to engage in that kind of activity, there's probably economic benefits to it as well. But we're not here to discuss that as much. You have the handout. If we can go to page 3 on the first topic, that's the Salish Kootenai College Extension 5-year plan. We're in the process of applying and submitting for a renewal, which is a 5-year renewal. Our 5-year plan, I've gone over it with many of the departments. We went over it with NRD, Divisional Lands, with Tribal Health, the different groups that we tend to work with through the years. And our plan is
page 7 in our packet, page 7.
No, was it page 7? Okay, it does say 7 on top. I guess I printed out what I was emailed. Our plan does address 6 of the 7 tribal initiatives. And I wish I remembered what 7 was. Maybe we reached that one too. But the work we do is well aligned with the recent initiatives that the council passed. And we did add climate change as one of our goals and specific aims. And we're anticipating that perhaps there's going to be additional council direction on integrating climate change into departmental and all tribal government operations. So we intend to assist with that as well.
Virgil, in regard to that, are you doing research on what plants store carbon down?
We are looking at that. We've submitted several proposals working with Maureen McCarthy and with Mike Derglow and with the Bison Range. And we are very interested in trying to obtain funding for that because it's a pretty valid scientific question. And it'd be very useful for the tribes to be able to document how their management is affecting the land and how it's affecting carbon capture. Agricultural soils, rangeland, and thank you. And agricultural soils are one of the bigger sources of carbon loss into the environment. It's equal to transportation and construction and several other things. So it's one of the slices of carbon that worldwide, we're very interested in trying to reduce the carbon release. So yes, we are investigating that. Eventually we'll obtain some funding. We're going to be working with Peter Begoni out at the Bison Range. I've had some discussions with him on co-opting on some other research projects related to vegetation management. Okay, so our Our first specific aim is address human health disparities related to the current food system. A lot of our health issues are related to the food system and what people have been used to consuming and what they've had available to them. So hence the gardening effort and the nutrition education effort. Reduce the impact of invasive species through prevention, early response, education, and management. I've been working on invasive species for a number of years. We do have our flowering rush controls program that we're ready to implement next year. We have some final touches to do. We'll be coming back and looping through council probably within a month or two to review that in more detail. We're also working on, like I mentioned, with the bison range, some of their invasive issues. Ventonata, it's an annual invasive grass. I'm sure you've probably heard about it, but it's a very serious threat, not just to the bison range, but to all tribal lands. And it's quite extensive out there, and we're trying to look at different ways to manage that, both with herbicides and burning, and in a combination with both. And our final specific aim, develop and implement mitigations to climate change. So we do have a number of goals and objectives there. I don't have to read them all to you, I don't think. But we're going to work within the community on health disparities. Some of the way we're doing that through diet and whatnot is our healthy and sustainable diets curriculum. We're in the process of modifying that to a middle school level, and we'll be working with MSU on that for the next few years. We're going to try to implement a virtual healthy and sustainable diets. And we do have a lot of that on film right now from last year's effort, but we want to expand that out to the community and make it available through our website. And we may be hosting some other classes, you will, if we can get back together with lesser COVID problems.
Virgil, has the housing authority ever had community gardens in the different housing projects?
They have in the past, and they had a problem with water access. They didn't have enough water, and I think that was addressed recently with some additional wells being installed. We help a garden. There's the Big Crane family has one at Clarice Paul, and we help them a little bit with tillage. That's feasible. I don't think they have any restrictions against it. Just a matter, you need personnel to help get them started, get some initial infrastructure in, fencing, make sure the water system's upgraded to a degree. And that'd be an excellent place to try this system that we're using now. It is less work, it really is. But we could certainly work that into our work plan as well.
Go ahead, Carol.
Just curious how close you work with the extension office down here and their high tunnels that they have funds to reimburse you for and all that?
That's through NRCS.
Yeah.
We haven't. We could. There are a few people that have done that. And the process takes about a year to apply. So you have to apply a year ahead of time. And the cost share you get almost pays for the whole thing.
Yeah, my family got one. We got one in our place, so, and went through them.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, we're in the process of purchasing 1 or 2 high tunnels for the college. We have funds to do that. I think you have to organize or make a statement as you're a small farm or something like that, and family units qualify. One of the projects we've done is with Renee, and she's distributed garden boxes to several families and students across the reservation. We're going to continue that project. We found out that actually works fairly well to get people interested. And it's a little less messy, if you will, than putting a garden in your backyard, and it's contained and it's a little easier to handle. With the cost of lumber, those are expensive. They're right around $100 for one box nowadays. So price of lumber is really shot up. It's very expensive.
Last time I made some, I went over to the property supply auction over here, and they had a ton of doors.
Oh yeah.
And I bought, oh god, they were fireproof doors, heavier than heck, and I made 6 garden boxes out of those doors. Cost me $3.
Yeah, salvaging lumber is a good way to do it. It is. Keep your eye out for that kind of stuff, and you can really save a lot doing that. When you're trying to make 60 of them, it's it's a little different. I like blocks, really. Concrete blocks work pretty well, and they last forever. So That's a little bigger investment, but it does
What's,
last.
you know, some people used to raise, small gardens with tires and they don't see
Mhm.
that very often anymore. Is
Mhm.
there a negative on rubber? Is there?
Not that I've heard. A lot of people do it. They like putting tomatoes in them. They do
Yeah, I
pretty
did
well.
strawberries in them.
Yeah. We made some with legs on them, for older folks that can't get down on the ground, anymore. And those
That's
went over.
neat.
That's about a lot of us, I think. Yeah, it's a real challenge. It is. Those are more expensive because you have to put bottoms in them and then you have to put legs on them. So, but we made several of those this year too. With invasive species, I mentioned our flowering rush project. We're gonna get that rolling this year. We also have a biocontrol program that's been building for about 10 years now. And they're starting to screen areas for potential release sites. And we are in discussions with the people that are managing the release of the biocontrols. And if there's anything to come from that, we'll come back and loop in with the council on that process. Then the final one, goal for the extension program is just to be cognizant of climate change in everything we do. And I think that 99% of the work we do does have climate change credits, if you will. You know, there are things that are more accepted out there as far as mitigating climate change and perhaps even reversing it to some degree. With extension, we've been including about 50% of our work in research. Some of that research has paid off. It's been good and we've had good results from it, and some research hasn't been so good. So that's just the nature of research. We've been able to be published on several of those articles. So the Academy has noticed it. And so we're pretty proud of that. That would be one of the letters of support we're asking for, is a support for the 5-year plan.
Motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Carol to support the 5-year SKC extension plan. Second by Ellie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you. And it's a flexible plan. So if there's additional things that come up, we certainly are able to work on them.
Just for your notes, we talked about this morning, Missoula Electric is having a Electrify the Big Sky Conference, September 13th at the UC at the university. And they're going to have farm equipment that's electric there. They're going to have a lot of equipment presentations all day long if you're interested in going, Virgil.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The next item is Renee developed a grant that goes along with Tribal College Extension. It's a special emphasis grant. It's for a school garden network. This continues on some work that we started several years ago with a different grant. But this special emphasis is to work closely with the schools on ag productivity and working with them on producing native plants as well as vegetables and whatnot for their families. Maybe I should just let Renee go over this. It's her project.
Maybe you should have.
I didn't study her sheet very well, to be honest.
Oh, it's
I know what the project is.
Renee, grab it from him, otherwise he's going to kill it for you.
He won't. He knows. He had to suffer through the grant writing. I've gotten a little bit rusty in my grant writing skills. So we obviously are in this grant in support of the council initiatives. And the one I thought was interesting was the mental health aspect of helping students, their teachers. So it's been a few years, just real quickly, since the school garden network idea was born. Kind of started out of Mike Durglow and the Eagles, and the teachers. I just have to highlight quickly the teachers. They're a remarkable group. 2 special ed, 2 English teachers, middle school, high school, couple science teachers, and it's just been a joy kind of supporting them. And Extension has, you know, sent down technical assistance and whatnot. The Native Plant Initiative actually, 2 years ago, I got them all together and said, what do you guys want now? And individually, before the meeting, they all said, we want native plants in the schools. And so I went and met with
Tony Jr. and James Lozo and Matt Ogden, the botanist, and they'd already been giving plants to schools, but we just kind of helped organize it more. And so there's an organized native plant distribution that helps out James and his staff, because it's a lot of work. So I coordinate the orders and run them around and whatnot, but they want curriculum with native plant education. So that's the next step. And then let's see, that's number one. And Martin, I want to address your daughter, and you got a garden box a couple of years ago, right? And I'd run into Ginger Marjo and different people. The follow-up with those families, COVID just got in the way of that. So I talked about revisiting all the families that got stuff and see what we could do to find out how it worked, how we could pick up the work on those 50 boxes that went out. And then the council helped a mission school get a plot next. So they have a huge school garden classroom, and SKC helped with that, but the council helped with a long-term lease. So it's next to the STEAM. It's right across from the school. You might want to wander down there and visit with Tim Marchand. It's going to be amazing. We've given 8 boxes. Anyways, so the school garden network worked in a big way. And then quickly, the objective number 2 is an idea. There's so many people now that weren't even 4 or 3 years ago doing gardening, Boys and Girls Club, the schools. There's just so many people. So we got the idea to just put together this collaborative. Oh, and Jordan and the Food Sovereignty Task Force. So we're getting everybody together just with Tribal Health, Public Health Division, Chelsea and Brenda. So we're kind of excited. That's just starting. So everybody knows what everybody's doing to start with. And then the last one was just an idea I had. And if we get funded, I like the idea of creating interns in the schools that would be trained in, and with extension, be trained in food sovereignty and gardening, and they'd get school credit. Yeah.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a question, Renee.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's okay.
My kind of girl.
Oh, what was it? No, I know, I wanted to acknowledge the Boys and Girls. Oh, the food banks. I know the college does tremendous work on providing the fresh vegetables, and it's so appreciative. I see people just excited to get that stuff. So I'm just wondering, is that included in everything that you do? Because there's like 6 of them on the reservation, 5 or 6.
I saw you at Sherry's thing and I made a note, food banks, a part of the garden collaborative, but Virgil might want to address that in just a second, because he's been doing some support of that. And so just quickly, if we get funded, or maybe if we don't, the idea of creating this youth garden food sovereignty internship program. And I've talked to different people, talked to Jordan and the committee and Tribal Health. And if we could come up with a curriculum during the year, it would get school credit. We'd work with them during the year. And then during the summer, they'd work with extension, but they'd also be mentored by a different department. So a Tribal Health intern would go with Tribal Health and learn about the health, and, Tribal Ed would take one, we'd take one, and, it could become something, but we'll see if we get funded or what comes of that. So that's all. That's all.
We've been distributing to the food banks, at least Polson, Ronan, we've got good contact.
Push a
with
button.
them. Oh. We've been distributing produce for several weeks now to the Ronan and Polson food banks. I got to check to whether we've been going to the senior centers or not. We've been trying to, in the past we have. There's been some feelings that we can't deliver produce to the senior centers due to food safety issues. Food banks will take it.
But there's food banks in Mission and Arlee, also in Hot Springs, I believe. So I
Well,
don't know if that's possible.
we got lists on them and we're making contacts. They're
Okay.
a little hard to get. They want things delivered by 10 in the morning, and that's kind of difficult to do when you got to get it harvested. But yeah, we're getting to them.
So, Renee, the internships it's really intriguing to me because, when you look at you know, agriculture out there, whether it's farming or ranching, here on the reservation or elsewhere in our area, people are aging out and there's not anybody replacing them. And you think about the major investment that we're going to be pursuing that we started already in the irrigation project here. This services our land or land that's ours, just happens to be in fee by someone else. But the goal of ours is to acquire everything. You know, it's to me, it's really important to be able to have people that could utilize this and farm it and be able to do it appropriately and expand what we're doing right now in our farming or ag, our lands department, what our memberships are interested in. So I just don't see a mechanism. I don't see that tree. I don't see that stepping stone process. And this internship would certainly help with that.
I just want to say, you know, I spent 30 years in Helena. I've been home 10. I'm a career educator, Indian career educator at heart. My honeymoon in '82 was a career education workshop in Billings. Virgil, I wonder if you want to speak to the safeguarding program, because that has. So there's a USDA APHIS, Animal Plant Science Inspection Service, that has 6 tribal college programs called Focus on Ag and Natural Resource Camp for Kids. Dana Hewencorn and I helped Virgil do that in 2019. But we're not able to do it in person this year. It was residential for 10 days. So we're doing it again this year, part hybrid, part virtual, and a little bit in person. But every school will have a teacher advisor and a little cadre of 5 to 7 students. And part of it will be through our campus Bright Space. And the kids will, between schools with their teachers and us, will be talking about discussion boards about stuff that you just talked about. And I know I'd given you a handout in the spring, but it just got too close to the end of the school year. So that could be a career education platform that could go forward for the tribes.
Okay, thank you, Renee.
Mr. Chairman, agriculture's been a hard place to attract young people to go into. It's very expensive to get into it. A lot of younger people don't have that as part of their family line, if you will. Maybe we can help change that.
Well, would the paradigm shift a little bit if it was rather than an individual tribal member running cows, it was the tribes running the cows or the tribes running the farm versus an individual tribal member? So it would be a community, it would be essentially a branch of our corporation or whatever. So they wouldn't have to have that. They would be in the program. They would be hired as another tribal employee.
And that's probably the way that I would expect it to run too. Yeah. We are working with some tribal member ranchers now on investigating alternative crops through Fred Billings. Fred is interesting. He's been an organic farmer for 20 or 30 years. He's also an economist and he's a marketer. So he's kind of a double advantage. I mean, he knows how to get produce he knows how to grow it, and then he knows how to get it into the markets. And so we're investigating with some producers, perhaps going to a larger scale with alternative crops such as carrots, other root crops. And that'll take a number of years to see if we can iron that out and figure out how to do it in Montana, but certainly we can grow those here. And that might create a little niche for them or the tribes if they cared to get into larger scale endeavors. There's no doubt.
Okay.
Oh, Greg is here. Oh,
Yeah, Greg's back there.
yeah. Well, Greg knows all about how this came about. We did bring some products with us. We got some zucchinis and some peppers. If we knew when you were going to adjourn, we can bring over some really good lettuce for you to take home. Right now it's chilling. We don't want to bring it here and let it wilt, but it looks like your agenda is a little abbreviated today. You might be getting out around lunchtime. Is that true?
We have some interviews we have to do, but I think those are scheduled for the afternoon.
Yeah.
But it won't be very long. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm lunch.
Virgil, are you doing anything with grasshoppers?
Somebody said something to me.
Yeah, I'm wondering if. you're
Well, we
doing-
have a refrigerator right in here, so, somebody will take it.
Yeah,
Wondering if you're doing anything about grasshoppers.
for our garden or for Camas Prairie? Are they getting pretty bad up there? They must be getting bad.
Thank you.
APHIS does have a treatment program. I don't know if they treated this year or not. They didn't? I don't know either.
So
Usually
you-
we hear about it. Usually they come in and update with council. I can check on their grasshopper program. It might be too late to do much right now.
So tell me this, because Mike asked this question and I didn't know it. So is it illegal to capture grasshoppers and move them
Why would you want to do that?
for a movie? Yellowstone? They're doing it.
I think I'm missing something here. No, I'm not missing anything. Okay.
So I don't know if that's their, their native species, so I don't know.
They're native, yeah, they are. Yeah. So we'll bring back some other
Don't
stuff.
list insects really in our book. Well, maybe we do. Maybe under ordinance 44D, it is illegal. It might be. Yeah, might have to get a game warden after. Impact fees, moving grasshoppers around.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I don't want you to be scared by the weather.
Oh, yes, I would entertain a motion to have a letter of support for Renee's emphasis project. Motion by Jennifer. Question?
And
Go
you've
ahead.
been through contracts and grants review on any changes and things like this? Thank you.
Motion by Jennifer to approve the support for the emphasis project. Is there a second? Second by Martin. Any further discussion? See none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Huh? Yeah. Jennifer made the motion. Greg? Thank you for doing the honor song yesterday. That was good. All right, we're on a break.
Yes, I asked Patricia to show up at 10:30.
Okay. 7.5 minutes. Okay, so quickly. Mike said he could make the August 20th, Lost Trail. So, because the secretary and director of Fish and Wildlife Service will be there too. So Martha and Deb. You gonna make it, Carol?
I'm gonna go, Mr. Chairman, I also would like to have a letter drafted on that bonus pay if we could, so we have something to hand deliver to her. If Tony and Ryan Rushi could, Tony and Kashola and Ron Sweeney and Ryan could draft something up.
Okay, well, maybe, okay. Sounds good. Well, I'll let Shane know that you'll go, Carol, and Mike will go for sure. He's alternate. Okay, we'll get back into session. All right, Rick, are we?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think we're ready. I got two quick things that are not on the agenda, but were things council wanted to get updates on. First is the landfill question. And I believe Rich and Mike Wheeler are going to join for that. I'm assuming open session is okay.
Sure.
For
I
them.
think so.
They have updates on kind of where that situation is and can give a quick recap on the results of the meetings they've been having with Lake County.
Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't see Mike on yet. Yesterday afternoon at 1:30, we had a Lake County Solid Waste Board meeting, which I am the tribal council appointed rep, and the Lake County Commissioners had our monthly or bi-monthly board meeting. And we were able to take some public comment on the issues surrounding the satellite dumps that are provided for people to utilize in the valley and Charlotte, among a few others that are located around Lake County. And it was pretty much determined with the rest of the board that the rollout for the Charlotte or Valley dumping sites was not done effectively. And Commissioner Bill Barron made that a point that we should have had public meetings with the community and communities affected before this was even done. And so I think everybody agreed that going backwards and trying to have a public meeting down in the Arley area would be a good thing, as well as the Charlotte area for that dumping site, and explain to the public why it was done and try to get some more feedback. I do know that they're looking at extending the hours to their Valley site as well as the Charlotte site. The big hurdle with that is that the union contract that they have, the Lake County solid waste workers have a contract for those monitors, and as well as they can sometimes compact garbage into those sites, is they end work by 5:30. And when they're given an hour travel time from the transfer station in Pablo to those sites, they pretty much have to end their day at 4 at the site and begin their day at 8. So we're looking at ways to extend those hours for the people that dump down there. As well as we spoke about just being able to educate the public on garbage. I mean, garbage is a thing that we all generate. And most people, including me, before I got on this board, I just thought garbage was something I dumped in the garbage can, somebody picked it up and it was gone, but we all know that's not the case, so I've been assured by Commissioner Bill Barron and Lake County Solid Waste District Manager Mark Nelson that we would like to work together with most likely Bing Matt to host a public meeting down there for the entire public, including the tribal members that are impacted down there, to come together and kind of take questions and answer any questions that we can. I don't see Mike on yet, but he was at the meeting yesterday on Zoom.
Rich, Mike is in the room with us right now.
Okay, sorry, Mike. I'm gonna stop there and let Mike maybe give his take on it, because he's our attorney on it.
One quick point for both of you. Was there any discussion on low income people and how they could find an assistance? Okay.
Yeah, that was brought up specifically. I think anyone in the county or anyone tribal is open to some grants. I think Willie Keenan had sent an email out to Mark Nelson. Yeah, she's at a training, maybe it's a grant training, and said that she thinks there's some resources available there. I saw Mark just emailed her back today and agreed to work with her towards getting any grant funding for this issue. But I think that's the main impediment, is what's available, how do we get it? I think the discussion with the county folks yesterday was essentially, well, if we're lowering the price for somebody, that means somebody else is paying more. And that kind of halted the conversation from my perspective. That's when people stopped really thinking about that as a possible idea, short of grant funding or some other pool of money.
And I would agree with Mike on that sentiment. And then Bill Barron did bring up the fact that an elderly woman with limited income, just through Social Security, said it's going to be very difficult for her to come up with that $180. But then we're also looking at the older elder doesn't produce as much garbage as that family of 6 living down the street, yet they both pay the same amount. And it was brought up that the $180 will impact more people than our target market. I know we have tribal members that are on Social Security that, that it's going to be a difficult sway for them. But it was brought up, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with a base fee like this that doesn't have any adjustment for your actual consumerism of the product. I mean, it's a little different. You think about the other utility. I pay my base water fee for where I live, but then also there's a volume. I have to pay more if I take more. Same thing with electricity. You have a base meter hookup, but it's based on how much you use or how much you're using the service. So the solid waste fee has no fluctuation for that. It has no incentive for, climate change initiatives at all. It's actually making people drive more. It doesn't cause people to be conservative on the trash they produce or think about it. But yeah, it does, in essence, someone who maybe produces 1 gallon of trash a month pays the same as someone who produces 8 tons of trash a month.
Yeah, I've thought about that issue for weeks now, and I don't have, I'm not a solution guy all the time, but I don't know the solution to quantifying garbage and setting a fee based on use unless you're weighing every individual load going in.
And they are.
Which, as an individual though, so like I bring a truckload in, they're gonna weigh me. So
They do at the landfill here.
Right. So that's a unique problem. And the fee, I guess, is set according to their ratios of average use. I don't know if there's a better solution to that and if it's workable.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be a container size. I mean, when you go to the large cities like Seattle or other places, it's basically you play, you pay.
Mhm.
So it's based on your volume and what you're producing.
Yeah.
And so they have methodology to deal with it. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I thought you were ignoring me, but that's okay.
No, sorry, I didn't see it.
No, it's okay. Rich, you're our representative on that board, and I'm really saddened that we didn't know about this long before now. And definitely, I think the council would have pushed for public meetings just due to the fact that that's the way to go with an issue like this is you gotta educate, you gotta let people know. And most people that, don't want to pay it will come around if you just let them know the reasons why. And then maybe we can mitigate for grants or whatever else. But I'd say in the future, if you're sitting on that board for us, you need to bring those things forward and say, they're thinking about this. Want you to be aware, and maybe you did, and maybe I'm just, chewing on you a little bit because I wasn't aware. I don't know. But I just feel caught off guard, and I think a lot of us do because we're getting the calls, a lot of calls, more than a lot, more than usual on an issue. So anyway, that would have been helpful.
Can I respond, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. It was one of those things that where the board went first was Swan Lake. And we didn't go. It was mostly Mark Nelson, and I think Bill Barron went. And they had 3 public meetings to get a public input and then talk to them about why, at least in the Swan, they were only going to 2 days a week. And they had many issues, including bear conflicts with the garbage, as well as out of county contractors that were dumping construction waste into these sites that weren't paying for it. And it was overflowing there, what they call cans, I guess those big blue containers, to where even the local people weren't able to dump because those cans were getting full. And so they decided to have those public meetings. And it worked out well because you're right, the public was educated, they were aware before it happened, and now they're all on board. That didn't happen with Charlo or Ravalli. And I think the board, realized that we are just representatives of the people, but the commissioners are the ones that make the final decision. And I do know Mark was under a time crunch set forth by the commissioners to get it rolled out by August 1st. And he did, and Mark did utilize the printed materials like newspapers, but most of us don't read print newspapers anymore. And it just didn't get out there the way it should have. And the board and Commissioner Barron did realize that, and they, I'll own up to my mistake. I just thought it would, because I've been on this board for 20 years, and things change. We're now in 2022 with an influx of people, new people that currently aren't being taxed or charged that fee because the Department of Revenue cannot keep up. And they're 2 years behind. And we are seeing a lot of illegal dumping. I'm talking contractor waste, that out of county contractors that are here building houses and trying to dump this stuff into the county satellite stations, and they weren't paying for it. So the good thing that I can tell you that has been happening is we're looking at extending the hours, especially for the individuals that work like 7 to 5:30. And we're looking at wanting to have a public meeting down there to take their input and to hear from those people. And I told Mark I'd be willing to attend with Bing and Commissioner Barron and Mark Nelson, and hopefully Mike will be there. So we can talk about these issues and listen to the public and see what we can do to alleviate some of their concerns.
Go ahead, Rick.
I just want to see if there's any additional questions or comments from council. We have a few more things to get through and
Well, just the one thing that I think, Bing has brought up and, I'll say that a different way, but, is there a possibility that we just contract directly with Republic, have our own little dumping site for tribal members to avoid that $180 fee for some of those folks that aren't used to that? But it would have to be done equally across the landscape. And I don't know what that would cost and how we would generate, if there's a possibility to generate any revenue from our home site leases or other methods, or maybe we fill that in with grants. I don't know, but we can bypass Lake County and go directly with Republic.
yeah.
Because that's all they're doing.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, good question, and Mike can speak to it a little bit more detail, but in short, we're working on a feasibility analysis of, because, the mechanisms ultimately work out that we have to take it to Missoula. So there's, whether it's ours or somebody else's, the transportation costs, all of those costs get added up. And so we're also looking at, is there a landfill that could be a tribal landfill? The ugly truth is garbage is or the smelly truth is garbage is it's the epitome of services that governments have to provide because nobody else wants to do it, and it's costly and damaging. And we're looking at those options, but right now it's kind of we're in a challenging place. I think the pushback is good, and having the opportunity to have public meetings and maybe make some tweaks seems like the best short-term solution. And longer term, we can look at maybe getting to zero waste, or net zero waste through the climate resolution that the team's working on.
Yeah, I think the feasibility study is the key piece of information here. You got infrastructure. I mean, everything the county's bringing up, that'll fall on us. Staffing shortages, infrastructure needs, liability, all that stuff, that would go shift from them to us. Gail Decker made a point in the meeting yesterday that I thought was a good point. He said, look, if the county can't run solid waste in a way that where they don't go into the red, the county will abandon the service and let it go private. And that's a pretty stark point, but he has a good point. If it's not cost effective, they're not going to be in it either. So whatever we do, I think is going to be based on what the feasibility study shows us. My concern is you're talking about potentially a smaller pool of people being responsible for all those fees, or the tribal government takes on those fees to subsidize. That could be a possibility, but with what we have now, we know we have a bigger pool to spread the cost. If we change that, it's going to have an impact. So I don't think we have any legal challenges to the classification of the fee versus tax issue. They put it on the tax bill because it's an efficient way to get the fee paid and get the service to people. So everything we've seen in legal is this is a fee, and it's a cost to handle garbage, and everybody has to handle garbage no matter what, where you live and what government you're under.
To clarify though, there was an issue initially with those being assigned to trust properties, that fee being included on trust property. That's taken care of. That's not appropriate, and is that process is no longer occurring. So
Really?
The tax statement, just the fee being
Individual
included
trust, or you're
on
talking about tribal?
any trust, but I
I'll
think
have to check
it's,
my statements then. So I'm not sure that's correct.
well, it shouldn't be. They did for one or two statement periods, but that's.
Yeah, I
been-
remember seeing on my fee that moved into trust, it would still remained along with those improvement districts. Okay, good to know. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's good to hear that. You know, some of the guys are working on that, you know, up there, but one thing, you know, the site that we have now up there in Valley Creek is tribal land. So we wouldn't need to find a site, you know, until we break the lease on that thing with the county, we have our site. You know, but I hate to go all that kind of stuff on them, but you know, it's we're gonna need a site to take our garbage and stuff up there. Well, we have it. So we don't have to go look and build another one, you know. Sure, they want to buy that site, you know, right? It's because it's a nice place, a nice site down there for them, you know, but it's just no way. But I really appreciate you guys working on this, you know, and seeing what we can do with it, with that, you know, if we can get garbage cans in these home sites areas, you know, that's more power to you guys, you know, but still working with Republic up there, you know, it's all that garbage from that dump site now is going to Republic, you know, going to Missoula County. So I don't know why they're such a big fuss with us having to dump there, you know, but they say we can dump there if we buy $180 permit, you know, but still it's like Tom was saying, you know, there's a lot of members up there that can't afford $180. They're already talking about pooling their money together so somebody can go around and pick up all their garbage and haul it to them, you know, but still it's going to be a problem for a lot of people up there.
Yeah, being you make a good point, there is infrastructure on the county lease site in Valley Creek. That gives us a bit of a head start and some cost savings. Beyond that, I think the county problems again apply: staffing, paying the contract to Republic to take the garbage. So there's still challenges, and that's again going to be hopefully uncovered and made clear in the study. You know, what the difference between any option like that would be compared to the current situation. Yeah, I would hope if we went that route, that would save us enough money to make it feasible, because that is something that's already in place. On a side note, I live out on McLeod Road, and I think y'all heard about the problem bears out at the dump site at Valley Creek. Appears they're starting to come out to my area, and we're getting individual garbage cans turned over. People are noticing bear scat in their yards. So in the meeting yesterday, or one of the meetings, someone had lauded the bear problem going away, and it didn't go away. It moved to the neighborhood. So they're there too. They went across the hill.
And at my house too.
It's unbearable.
No, that's perfect.
Can I make one final observation?
Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you, Chairman McDonald. I just want to, this is my opinion, but I feel that if the county can't make this work, they're looking to sell it to Republic. They're looking to sell it to Republic, and Republic's already made a couple of offers, but nothing's transpired. And this is just my opinion that if Republic does take it, they got the monopoly already. Our cost will go up. I mean, everybody's costs will go up. So that's just my thought.
Thank you, Rich. Any other questions? All right, thank you for, oh, go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Rich and Rick and Mike. Shane. Since all these bear problems are persisting, will NRD be getting more bear proof cans? Because I know a lot of tribal members, myself included, have reached out. And I'm being told that there's just no trash cans. And then I see Missoula Republic bought everyone that doesn't live inside their city limits trash cans or provided them for them. So I think that's a service that we should provide at minimum to our membership and make sure they're readily available. Thank you.
Yeah, Martin.
Yeah.
They went through that, I think, 3 different times, and it's helped fund, it's a grant program that helped funds that. But I don't know if they have any more in order, but it's, yeah, they're nice
Yeah,
canisters.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
Rich, maybe that'd be something good to have Carrie or whoever would oversee that, provide a email update to council.
I can get that done.
They offered them almost free. It was a minimal charge.
I think $10.
Oh, they're out of them. I think they're over $100 a piece. And they sold them for 10. There might have been $200 a piece. I can't remember. It was $10 is what we sold them for. It was a giveaway program. But first it was emphasized only in grizzly bear situation 2 habitat. And then we expanded it to anybody that had any bear problems at all. And you couldn't get one if you were being serviced by the Republic, because Republic had canisters also. So if you're getting the dumpster coming to your house, they weren't going to provide it to you. So it was really for you, if you're hauling yourself, that's where they emphasized the program for. Because the Republic has their own special mechanism to open those. All righty. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Next, Mr. Chair, I think Patty has a quick update for you.
Morning, Patty.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair and Council. I won't take a huge amount of your time, but want to let you know that we've got a request from Region 8 Director Lily Griego with the Health and Human Services, Federal HHS. She is going to be in Missoula on Monday, the 15th, and has requested to meet with council in the afternoon. She's available between 1:30 and 3:30. So I'm really here to kind of gauge your interest to meet with her and also your availability. We want to make sure that it's beneficial for both you and her. If for some reason it doesn't work for you all to meet with her on Monday afternoon, face to face, we can set up a Zoom meeting with her sometime in the future.
Where's the location?
The location would be here. She would be here at 1:30, meeting from 1:30 to approximately 2:30. Then she would travel to St. Ignatius and then do a brief 30-minute tour of the clinic in Mission and then be back to her plane that evening.
I would be available. 1:30 on Monday. Carol? Here.
Oh, I'm leaving the Billings, so I thought if it was in Missoula, it'd be perfect. I could just stop in there.
Martin's available. Bing, you available? Kelly? Jennifer's not available. Mike's available. We'd have at least half of us available, so.
I think that'd be great. And I think the structure would be similar to the meeting we had last Wednesday with the House Appropriations Committee. We'd have Joe do a brief overview of tribal health. And then really what they want is a conversation with you to hear what you think your top concerns are.
Okay.
And those personal stories. So very similar to the model that we used last Wednesday.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Carol.
Can you briefly touch on what our top issues are? I mean, is there 477 funding that we're still fighting on? I mean, things like that. Is there?
Absolutely. So Joe's putting together a list now that
Okay.
we'll edit and make sure we get in front of everybody on Friday.
Okay. With a
So
little
you'll be briefed
explanation.
on all of that before Monday. Absolutely. And we certainly know substance abuse and, you know, a lot of those issues we keep talking about will be some of our top ones, but we'll also look at the contracting issues at the same time. Thank you.
Pencil us in.
Awesome.
Let's
I'll
do
get
it,
it
Patty.
scheduled.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Look forward to it. Meeting Lily? Yes.
Thanks, Patty. Final thing, Mr. Chair, Shane said he could keep it to 30 seconds or less. So I'm gonna start a clock because that might be a record.
Let's put some money on it.
But I think this one might be good to go into executive, and then we could be executive for the rest of the morning.
Okay, let's move into executive.